Welcome to the Pet Loss Companion. I'm Ken Dolan-Del Vecchio, here with my friend and co-author Nancy Saxton-Lopez, and this is a program that we do every Thursday from 6 to about 6:30. It's been a rough day,
Yeah,
as we were just
sorry.
talking about, and it's a program that is an expansion on the book that we wrote a few years back called The Pet Loss Companion: Healing Advice from Family Therapists who lead pet loss groups. And what we do a lot of on this program is we read letters from audience members about the lives and passing of their beloved animal companions and how they're doing as they move through their grief. And so we encourage you to write to us as well. And you can reach me at kenddv@gmail.com, Nancy at nancysaxtonlopez at gmail.com. The information that I'm laying out in this intro is all in the description that accompanies the program. Whether you're with us live, and thank you for being with us if you are, or if you're going to join us through a rebroadcast, and thank you if you're doing that as well. And you can support the program in a number of ways, which are also described in the description. We'd like you to know that this is a program that's a friend of Dakin Humane Society in Springfield, Massachusetts. Wonderful animal shelter and adoption center and resource center. And one of the programs that they offer is a monthly pet loss support group that I facilitate over Zoom. And that's the second Tuesday of the month from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. There's an RSVP link in the description that accompanies this program. And it is completely free, and we have people who are with us from all across the world. It's very interesting, the descriptions and the perspectives that people bring. Please consider subscribing to the program if you haven't already, because that really
Please.
helps get it before other people who will benefit, brings it to the attention of other people who would benefit from the content. And also, if you can leave a comment or a thumbs up or a
Or a
heart,
heart.
any way that you interact with the program tells the algorithm that it's valuable and it will be helpful to other people as well. And finally, we'd like you to know that we have a partnership, an affiliate relationship with a company called Bereave that makes these really beautifully crafted memorial plaques.
They actually are beautiful.
And
Absolutely.
and if you were to purchase one through the link in our description, we would get a piece of your purchase price as a support for the program. So please consider doing that if you find that you may benefit from having one of these plaques. And Nancy, you want to get us started for today?
Yeah, so we have two stories tonight, and the first one's a little bit different because it's about anticipatory grief. It's Maura with her Fred, and she did have a death. I'm going to start reading. Ken and I are going to share it. But it's now around Fred and what he has been diagnosed with. So, good morning. I found your podcast when I started looking for resources to address the anticipatory grief I'm feeling. My dog Fred was recently diagnosed with advanced T cell lymphoma and has probably 2 months to live. See his picture. There he is. Fred was found on the side of the road in rural Texas, skinny and flea ridden, but an immediate favorite at the shelter. They called him Scrappy. His best friend was the neighborhood cat, Sunkissed. I saw his picture online and fell in love. We'd recently lost our 16-year-old Bichon Frise mix, Miles, another rescue dog who'd been with us for 10 years. We turned Miles into an unexpected adventure dog, summiting many New Hampshire peaks with him, but he was also very cuddly and mild-mannered. Euthanasia was a clear decision when he lost the ability to walk on his own and stopped eating. He was an old guy who had a great long life, but the goodbye was still wrenching. A friend sent us the last will and testament of an extremely distinguished dog, which should be read actually, by Eugene O'Neill. You probably know it. It's written in the voice of a recently deceased dog who tells his mistress, "Now I would ask her, for love of me, to have another. It would be a poor tribute to my memory never to have a dog again. What I would like to feel is that having once had me in the family, now she cannot live without a dog. I have never had a narrow, jealous spirit. I have always held that most dogs are good." It goes on. It's beautiful and so sad. and it told us we needed another dog. We are fairly certain that Miles sent us Fred, who came to us in a van from Texas on a cold December night, just 3 months after we buried Miles under trees in the yard. That was nearly 5 years ago. Fred is extraordinary. All dogs are special, but there is something soulful and deep around Fred that strangers on the street can sense. He looks like a scruffy movie dog. He howls greetings. He rejoices in snow. A DNA test told us he's half husky, the rest mostly poodle and cocker spaniel. A funny combination for sure. He's the chillest dog I've ever met. So calm and compliant at the vet's that she almost worried about it the first time. She put a note on his file. The nicest dog. Look at that cutie. Oh, he's so cute. But he's not sedate. We live deep in the woods, and Fred's off leash when we walk around here. Often he disappears for a while on our walks, and then reappears silently, where we didn't expect him. Fred magic.
A few weeks ago, he stopped eating. We thought he was being picky. He always has been a bit finicky. But he got more and more lethargic, and we took him to the vet. She kept him for a few nights, thought it was a GI issue. He didn't get better under her care. Let's get an ultrasound, she said. Our goal is to rule out cancer. It was cancer. Even the vet cried when she told us. The second vet, an oncologist, was just as shaken. This is a really special dog, he said. Fred's only 7 or so. We knew we'd lose him eventually, like we lost Miles, and that it would be devastating, but we thought that was years away. Now it's months. 4 at best. Prednisone is restoring his appetite and some of his old ways for now. He's howling again sometimes and trotting a bit down the driveway instead of pacing slowly, but it will only last so long. Chemo was an option, but would only get us a couple more months, if any. And we didn't like the idea of just clinging to our dog for as long as we could. Death happens. In this waiting stage, tears are always close. I try to stay present, but every time I pet Fred, I think of him not being here. I feel bad for going anywhere, even brief work trips, because I'm missing out on additional days with Fred. I know a few days don't matter compared to the 5 years of memories I've had with healthy Fred, and that he's just as content here with my husband, but still, sometimes I feel desperate to stay with him, as though soaking him up will keep him here longer. I'll be listening to your episodes about anticipatory grief today, hanging out at home with Fred. Thank you for doing them. If you have any words of wisdom to share with me, I'd love to hear them. As you know, this is just a terribly sad time. Thank you, Maura.
Wow. I mean, anticipatory grief starts the day of the diagnosis.
Yeah, so hard.
And it could,
really, really hard.
And the companion could last years. The companion could last a year, some months, a week, a day. But that is immediately, here it is. And when's it going to happen? And it's so anxiety provoking.
Well, that whole idea that you've lost an indeterminate future is so hard. As Maura said, that we thought we'd have years, and now we've only got months. And it sounds like she's really making the most of them. And it also sounds like it's hard to be with him, because to be with him is to emphasize that she won't be with him much longer. That's really, really hard. And the way that I think about anticipatory grief is that you acknowledge the feeling. You do what you do with your having grief over any loss, and what they've lost is the indeterminate future. Right. You let the feelings come and go. You take the best care of yourself that you can, and you celebrate your friend
Every
while they're here.
With him or her, right?
Yeah, so you try to make the most of the time that you do have, and it certainly sounds like they're doing that. And you realize the preciousness of the time that you have. And the one thing I always think about when I hear a story like this is that we don't really know how long we've got with anybody who we
No.
love.
Or ourselves,
Right.
really.
We don't know. And so this knowledge is something that really might be something that would inform our everyday all the time,
Mm-hmm.
that we just don't know. And when we have a diagnosis like this, we know we don't have long. And so it makes it real in a different sort of way, that life is ephemeral, that life ends.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing what they should do, though, which is
Absolutely.
pay. And also, I really love that she says, I feel like I want to be with him all the time, but I also know that I can't really do
I
that,
can't
that I've
really,
got
yeah.
some
I've
short
got
work
other,
trips.
yeah, responsibilities.
So life still goes on, but you do the best you can to make the most of the time that you have. But it doesn't mean that your life collapses. It doesn't mean that you become paralyzed. You
I
still have to do what you got to do.
I also think in some ways, like you just mentioned, they can then plan life with their dog, right?
Hmm.
They can plan life with Fred. They can take him to the places that he loves. They
Yep.
could give him the food that he loves. They
Yep.
could spend, all of this precious time, even though they know it is going to end. And not exactly, but pretty much. But they are able to do that. A lot of times, a sudden death, you can't.
Right.
Those things are not offered, right? But they can do those things. They can make memories, and they can make pictures, and they can do a lot of different things,
Yep.
even though that anxiety is always there, right?
And as you're describing, they can be very much in the present with him,
Hmm. Yes.
because
Hmm.
they know that it's precious. They know that
Yeah.
it's fleeting, that the present that they have with him. And like you said, you do all things that you can think of that are special. Some
Yeah.
people cook steak for their
Oh,
dogs.
yeah. I mean,
you know?
steak and ice cream. I
Yeah.
remember in the back one day at the ground, and they were giving the dog ice cream, like a chocolate ice cream fudge thing, like
Hmm.
because it was her time. She was
Yeah.
going to be euthanized, but that it's really important, and I think that they know that.
Yeah.
Maura and her husband know that about Fred, and that I love that picture of him jumping in the snow. I just think that that's such it's so much of his energy, right? His
Yep.
life energy. But who knows? He may live a little longer. He may not. I mean, the thing for some people is they go through this anticipatory grief, maybe over quite a period of time, because then okay, cancer remission,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, then it's within a few days,
Yeah.
and you never know
Yep.
what's going to happen.
Yep. So
And we don't have
hopefully,
control over it.
no, and hopefully has several months,
Yeah.
but it sounds like they're celebrating him, and
And that's what they
that's
need
what
to do.
so they celebrate. You celebrate him, and you take care of yourself at the same time, and you
Mhm.
realize that you can't fix this.
Yeah.
You can't spend every waking moment with him. You have other responsibilities too, and that's just the way life is.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they will manage the feelings around this, especially anxiety. Anxiety is really big, anticipatory grief.
Yep.
But that will just make them love him more.
Yep. And he
Yeah.
is a beautiful dog. They've given him a
Yeah.
beautiful
A
life.
beautiful life. Hmm. Absolutely.
So we want to thank Maura for
Hmm.
sharing all of the story of both Miles and Fred with us, and the
Yeah.
photographs. And
Beautiful,
we wish you
beautiful
well.
things. So now we have one from Michelle. And this is also interesting because there are a lot of people out there that have animals with chronic disease,
Yep.
right? And this is Michelle with Nala, her cat. I just started to watch her podcast. The love and support I can feel coming right through the TV screen, a little hard. I just lost my Nala. I adopted Nala in 2013, just a tiny little speck of orange, but full of spunk. She developed diabetes in 2020, and we almost lost her. She lost weight. We took her to the vet, and that is when they told us she had diabetes. We nursed her back to health. Fast forward to 2025. Nala's diabetes started to get out of control. Her numbers all over the place. We took her to the vet regularly for her diabetes, and we just had taken her back in June for blood work, etc. They said as she gets older, she will have more episodes and be in them longer, and that is exactly what she did. Nala was in an episode when I got home and could tell it was a bad one. They were getting closer together and longer. I couldn't watch her suffer anymore. I told my husband we need to do this. It's been a week. Her ashes just came home to me yesterday. I'm in the thick of grief. I will continue to watch your podcast and feel the support. Thank you so much for the wonderful advice you both give. You two are truly wonderful people. Please feel free to share. Now, I had a diabetic dog, and I know exactly how she feels or felt, because blood sugar, it fluctuates every day. Mm-hmm. And there's so much to it because you have to give insulin, 2 shots a day. You have to get, a reading on a stick every morning. And that also created a lot of anxiety for me. So I have Hank pee. I have his pee and look at a stick. And then one day it was up, and the next day it was down, and it was up, or it's down, or it's then really down, and it's way up. And it was so, the anxiety was so rough because you want to make sure he's okay. Yeah. And I would see Dr. Bloom, the internist, and she goes, yeah, it does. It goes up and down. It was like, okay. But when you don't have that knowledge, right? And there's other chronic diseases that dogs and cats get.
Yeah.
And that's really hard. Kidney disease,
congestive
heart failure, cancer, there's lung, respiratory issues. And so you do the best, right, that you can. It sounds like Michelle did the best she could. And she realized that Nala was not going to really survive that last really
the last
episode,
string of them. And I mean, she comes, it's a great statement. I couldn't watch her suffer anymore.
Right.
She wasn't going to hang on to her just to hold on to her presence in a way when Nala would be perhaps in agony. Yeah. She was going to ease her transition out of this life. And that's a wonderful gift to give. And it's the hardest gift you give your beloved animal companion.
It's one of those things that, you don't want them to suffer, and then you suffer, right? You suffer afterwards.
Yeah.
Not having them with us. But she and her family did the right thing. Right?
And I hope she doesn't mention feeling guilty. I hope she doesn't feel guilty.
Right.
We hear so many times that people will feel like I should have waited longer, or I should have done it sooner. Or I shouldn't have done it at all. Or if they didn't do it and then the animal dies on its own, then
we all know the guilt trips, right?
So I hope that, and it sounds like she is pretty okay with what they decided, and yet she's in the thick of grief, which is predictable.
Yeah,
that's
she's
absolutely
very sad.
Yep.
Very sad. And we don't know if there's any other animals that they have, but I mean, they did everything they could. I mean, having a chronic illness is a challenge, right? For anyone.
It's stressful.
Yeah, especially with our animals because they depend on us so much, right?
Yep.
I mean, we do have human members that have chronic diseases, and that's really hard too. But,
a lot of people do. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, she did everything she could. She did everything she could for her Nala. And so...
And Nala was a beautiful cat.
I know.
She really was a beautiful little orange cat.
Oh my God, she is beautiful. Absolutely. But the chronic disease, it kind of comes with what's going on with Maura, with anticipatory grief for Fred, who has lymphoma. Okay. Because that's the waiting thing, right? We
Yeah.
all wait also with a chronic disease, right? Because it can get worse. Like
Yeah.
not a lot worse.
And it can become catastrophic all of a sudden too.
Yeah.
It can collapse very, and that's what happened here. Is that it just accelerated rapidly, and you have to make that decision. You have to. I mean, you some people don't, but it's a gift to them if you do.
And I do think that hopefully that's why I think it's important with anticipatory grief is to have the quality of life scale. There are many of them out there.
Hmm.
I use one particular one, but they do have a scale, and it has to do with if they're eating, if they're still drinking, do they have any pain? Can you tell if they're in pain? Do they have better days than not? Are they mobile? So there's all of these categories where you can judge from 1 to 10 where they may be. Of course, it's subjective,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it does help a lot of people because
Yeah.
sometimes they realize that okay, they have a little more life in them
Yep.
potentially,
Yep.
and then sometimes they'll find out that no, it's probably you have to look towards doing a good death, right?
Yep.
But the quality of life scales are online, and there are some that are very thorough. They have multiple questions, and some that are pretty simple but give you the guidelines to which are what's happening with your animal.
Yeah. And the way that I always think about that is that you have to evaluate if the pleasures of being alive
Mm-hmm.
outweigh the pain and suffering, then they have more time. But if it's the other way around, which basically their life is consumed by pain and suffering and nothing appears to be giving much pleasure, that certainly not enough pleasure to outweigh that, then it's time. It's
And it's
time.
really hard. I mean, I've seen dogs at where I work that probably should have a good death, but the parents are just not ready.
Hmm.
They're just not ready to do it. And I've had staff come in, the text and say, "Oh my God, this dog is suffering," but they're not seeing it. And that's where it gets kind of hard in the context of the professionals, right? The clinical professionals
Yeah.
and the pet parents.
I
But
I remember and this is a story that's in our book. This woman who she tells a story of how she and her husband were driving and their dog was in the back seat, and all of a sudden the dog wasn't moving anymore, and they pulled over, and she jumped in the back seat and she was giving the dog mouth to nose, mouth to snout breathing because the dog was dead. And she told this story. She told this story a few times in the meeting, and I would sort of I would up the way that I spoke to her about it. And finally, at least once, I said to her, your dog had cancer that was it totally obstructed her breathing, and she couldn't breathe through her nose anymore, and she was suffering greatly. And you'd been advised by your veterinarian that it was time, and everybody dies, and she needed to die. It was time. And so I know you jumped in the back seat, and her husband said something like
tried.
he had never heard noises come from a human being that were as scary as the shrieks that she was letting out. And so we tried in the group to really help her see that it wasn't her failing, it wasn't the veterinarian's failing, it was just time. And what I always thought about is that it it, it could have happened that they had a more peaceful passage where they were together with their dog
Mm-hmm.
in a quiet place with either a home euthanasia or an in-hospital euthanasia. And it probably would have been a much better scene for all of them, including the dog. But like you said, we do the best we can.
We do the
That's all.
best
We
we
do the best we
can.
can. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, we just we can't let go. We
Right,
can't
we
let
can't let
go.
go. I have someone I'm working with now. The first dog, she believes suffered too much. So now the next one, she's like, I don't want to do that again, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's always different every time.
Yeah.
That's the issue. It's a different disease with a different type of personality, or a different dog, a different cat, and you can't really, no matter how, veterinarians are good, they can be really clinically amazing, but they still can't really know exactly,
No.
what might cause something.
No. No. And I
Right.
always ask, in this situation, I always ask the veterinarian what they would do.
Right.
And they have wisely, in general, what they've said to me is they'll give me a whole clinical rundown. Your dog is suffering with this, and this. They probably cannot recover from this to any extent.
Right.
However, and if it were, and they'll say, if it were my dog, I would let them go now. This has happened to me about 3 times, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last time, the veterinarian, who knows us well, said, "But you love her, and so you have to decide." Just like,
Well,
of course, is the truth.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the hard.
Yeah.
There was one young man I was working with his mother, but he was an adult, and the staff. It was oncology. The staff believed that the dog really needed to be euthanized, but she was wonderful, the oncologist. She said, "Well, I know. Is there anything else we can do?" And she said, "Well, yes, we may be able to do this particular, treatment." And the mother, who kind of was like more on the out, I mean, this dog's suffering. She said, "Well, it's going to be really expensive." And the young man said, "Mom, I'm not married. I don't have kids, and I've got money, and I'm going to do this."
Mm-hmm.
So they did the treatment.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, there's so many variables that are in there, and we've heard other times where a person, we can put them in an oxygen tent. It's going to cost $4,000 to do that, and probably not going to help them very much. And the person will say, I just can't afford that, and that's a very reasonable thing because, this whole idea of futile care, I think, is very important.
yes,
That there is now so much technology that things can be done that perhaps will yield benefit, maybe, but they're likely not to do much good over much time, and they're gonna be extremely expensive. And we've had people say,
oh yeah,
I can't pay for this because I wouldn't be able to pay my mortgage, or I wouldn't be able to pay my rent. I wouldn't be. So you have to make a decision.
It's a dilemma. It's a real dilemma for
you
people.
have to make a decision based on all of the variables that are pressing in your life at the time.
Each way, I just had a woman who paid $50,000 to have
Wow.
a veterinarian from London. There was only 2 veterinarians that did this heart treatment,
Mm-hmm.
this heart surgery. One from London, one from Japan, and she had him come to Jersey, to Red Bank, and they did the surgery on this dog, and then she got an infection and she died.
Yeah.
So I mean, these things that. But we have a message here from Courtney.
Courtney, who says, let's see that. You two are the best. Thank you for that. This story
Yes,
brought me back to managing my cat's diabetes. It was so difficult. I followed all my vet's instructions, and it still didn't work, and my cat, Luke, declined.
I'm sorry, Courtney.
And when you say this is interesting because it didn't work. Maybe it prolonged their life. Maybe it made them feel more comfortable for a time. And so it's important to note that you did the best you could. And thank you for sharing that story.
Thank you, Courtney.
So we will say thanks to Michelle and thanks to Maura. And it's tough. It's tough whether you're waiting or whether they have left.
Yeah.
And so we'll be thinking about you both as time goes on here. And Nancy, I'll look forward to talking with you again next week. Oh, one more thing. We're gonna the Pet Loss Companion is soon going to be an audiobook. We'll keep you posted on that. It's in the process of being finalized. And also, if you haven't subscribed, and you think the program is useful, please do subscribe, and please leave a comment or a thumbs up or in some way interact with the program, because that helps other people find it as well. So thank you for being
Appreciate
with
that.
us, and we'll look forward to talking again next week.